Hello Whovians and welcome to my latest Doctor Who review, where today I reviewed the 150th Doctor Who story. Wow, 150th. That's amazing. Which is also the 25th anniversary special, technically speaking, of Doctor Who. Starring Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor. Silver Nemesis. Once again, the DVD was provided to me by Nicholas Payne. Thanks again very much for lending it to me. Silver Nemesis. Okay, so the very last Cybermen story of the classic series. It's been interesting to review all the Cybermen stories of the classic series. And how's the last one? Well, let's find out, shall we? The arrival of a mysterious comet heralds impending danger from enemies both old and new. As Ace helps the Doctor defend Earth, she is confronted with a dangerous question. Doctor Who? There we go, that's about as much as I can tell you from the plot of this story. Oh, Silver Nemesis. What is it with the Sylvester McCoy era? Like, what is it? Like, it's just disappointment after disappointment. I'm getting sick and tired of it now. Silver Nemesis is a terrible story. It's not the worst I've ever seen. It's not like as bad as Delta and the Bannerman for me. It's not as bad as Time and the Rani, but it's just a very boring, slow, convoluted story. I just didn't really understand it. It was a total waste of time to me. The Cybermen themselves don't really do anything in the story, which is kind of a problem. And I think the voices have been messed around way too much in this story. I really think they have, and they've lost what made them scary. They're just these metal oafs walking around, and the Cybermen can get taken out in this story much too easily. And that's one of my biggest criticisms, is that they are so weak in this story. The Cybermen do not pose a threat. They're just constantly falling on their asses. They can get hit by arrows now, which is stupid. That should never have happened. And when they die, they do have totally exaggerated deaths when they go, oh! Something like that anyway. It's just terrible, and it just becomes a joke, really. It just becomes a joke to watch it. I just didn't understand the plot. Like, they're going after this bow and arrow for some reason, and something to do with this historical woman merging her body with this Nemesis character. Again, I can't tell you anymore. Honestly, the story is such a mess. It doesn't make any sense. What is the whole point of this bow and arrow? And how does it help? Like, it feels like this story is trying to be an amalgamation of a Cyberman story and a historical story, which I don't mind, but it doesn't make sense. The script is so bad. The story is written by Kevin Clark, and I'm sorry, Kevin, but I couldn't really make heads or tails of this story. I just simply did not understand it, and I can't lie to you. So I'm sure there'll be people in the description that will, in the comments section that will describe it to me. But I honestly found myself getting so bored of this story. I just thought it was incredibly slow, boring, dull. The only two things that save it for me are the Doctor and Ace. Sylvester McCoy, he's decent enough in the story. Sophie Aldred as Ace, she's pretty good in the story. She gets to fire a slingshot, which is kind of nice. She has a lot of great kick-ass moments. Not as much as Remembrance of the Daleks, but still, she does kick ass. And how can a slingshot take out a Cyberman? It's just so dumb. Like, the Cybermen are so weak in this story. I don't understand it. There is arguably a certain appeal about the Windsor Castle location. That's kind of nice to a point. I suppose the locations are nice, and most of the story is shot on location. But to me, the supporting characters are pointless. You've got DeFlores, played by Anton Diffring. Couldn't care. Carl, played by Metin Yinel. Lady Penfort, played by Fiona Walker. She's pretty good in the scene she's in. Richard Maynard, played by Gerard Murphy. Yeah, he's okay. David Banks returns as the cyber leader. He does what he can, but honestly, the voices are really just ridiculous this time. The voices aren't very good at all. The story is 3 parts long. It's 3 parts long, but it feels so much longer because it just drags so much. It never really gets going. It takes till the end of part 1 for the Cybermen to appear, and then once they've appeared, they just keep dying every 5 minutes, so you just start to not really care anymore. The first part is a drag, and then the next 2 parts, there's plenty of action in the story, but it's all meaningless. It just doesn't make sense to me. I just don't understand the plot. So I just couldn't really get into it, unfortunately. There's also these random two skinhead guys who try to approach the two historical people, Lady Penfort and I can't remember the other one's name, DeFlores, I think his name is. And they approach them and they have this argument for no reason. And then we next see the two of them stripped down to their underwear, hung from the tree. Why? Nothing makes any sense in this story. This is not the way to celebrate 25 years of Doctor Who. I'm sorry. You know, people have tried to tell me in the comments section of my previous review how much the people of the show are trying to make this work. I'm not going to completely agree with that, unfortunately. I just don't feel like the passion is there anymore. I don't feel like JNT really cares about the show anymore. Maybe the other people behind the show are trying, but it doesn't show to me. With the quality of the scripts, the writers certainly aren't trying. They are struggling to find good ideas with this story. Maybe the people who are making the show are trying to make the best of the bad scripts, but to me, the only good story McCoy has had so far has been Remembrance of the Daleks, followed by Dragonfire, which I think is okay. Silver Nemesis is a complete mess. It is a mess of a story. I don't like it. I think the production design is terrible. The music is even worse. The music is far too loud as well. Even though I adjusted my volume constantly, the music was really, really loud, and it actually drained a lot of the dialogue at points, which was a real shame. Like I said, it's not a complete fail. There are some good locales in this story, and McCoy and Aldred are doing a good job, but the story is a complete mess. It's a complete mess. It is directed by Chris Clow. Once again, Chris Clow fails to direct Doctor Who. He just fails. I will give it this, though. It does actually have a consistent tone. They are playing it seriously, which I appreciate. So there is a good tone to the story. But ultimately, the story itself is so dull and unengaging. And this is such a bad way for the Cybermen to go out of the classic series. I mean, we won't see them now until, well, the David Tennant era. So that's going to be quite a while away. I also think that the model shots are really cheap, like especially towards the end when the ships in the sky blow up. You can really see the terrible green screen effects. And I know they're on a small budget, which I am considerate to, but it just looks as though they don't care anymore. They're just shoving whatever effects they can, because obviously they're scraping the budget to see what they can afford. They just shouldn't have bothered. I just don't understand this whole idea of the bow and arrow. Like, why is it so important? It's just nothing is explained in the story. It honestly still confuses me, and I actually nearly fell asleep watching this story. I nearly did. So I'm sorry to be negative. I'm sorry if this has turned into a rant, but I didn't want it to. But like I said, there are a few good things in the story, like McCoy, Aldred, and the locations, but the rest of it is a complete mess. I mean, I thought the Happiness Patrol was silly, but at least it had some good ideas, whereas this doesn't even have any good ideas. So I have to give Silver Nemesis, I have to give it a 3 out of 10. Yeah, I'm sorry. I really didn't like it. I really couldn't get into it. And it just bored me to tears. It really did. But thankfully, the next story ends this season, which will be the greatest show in the galaxy. And I bloody well hope it is. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching this review. And until next time, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye for now.